Kelly Knopp, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
God bless you. I'm doing well, man. How's the coffee?
Oh, it's great.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's
thank
great.
you.
It's
Brian made this for me, your assistant.
Oh my God. Thanks, Brian. Hey, I appreciate that. Listen, man, you and I have been training jiu-jitsu for a bit now, which is fantastic. Enjoy it. And then I find out that you like dabble in the marketing world. And then I find out you don't just dabble, you're like a pro marketer guy, creative, working with a lot of people that I actually know. And marketing to me at this point, it's so important for small businesses.
Yeah.
It's so accessible, but it's very difficult to understand, right? Like marketing as far as building a relationship, helping people understand like a why. I got the guerrilla marketing book, a couple years ago, and just thumbing through it, it's like every page, I'm like, oh my God, like that's so important. Or like, oh my God, that makes, and then I realized like, this is too much. Like it's too much to understand. But marketing is one of those things where the rise and fall of small businesses, and it's like, it's like 70 or 80% of the entire United States are employed by small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Marketing is at the heart of those small businesses, making it past the first like 90 days of business, and then making it past that first like year threshold, and then the first 5-year threshold, right? Yeah. Continuing to communicate with customer bases and things like that. It really is at the heart of helping people connect the service to the customer or the product to the customer. How did you get into marketing?
Long story short, grew up as more of an artist, creative, a lot of illustration, painting, stuff like that. Didn't find myself much as like a fine artist. I didn't have long enough like artist statements or bios. I wasn't deep enough. And I knew that
like the brushes,
yeah,
the watercolors.
Too impatient.
Yeah.
Did super poorly in school, so I figured art's my gig. I'm not going to be won't be a scientist or a doctor or anything. So I was like, I got to stick with this. And just fast forward. The way for me to make more money doing something creative definitely was in that art for commerce sort of thing. So graphic design. And then that turned into working in an agency. And now I'm a creative director. So I work with a lot of really smart people, and then I have a creative team, and then we somehow try to blend that together.
Man, the being bad at school, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm going to be like creative. That used to be such a throwaway thing. Yeah. That used to be like, well, he can't do math, but he's creative.
Right. Right.
And now it's like people are dying to find the creative person.
Yeah.
People are dying to find that differentiator where it's like, oh, we can do things that haven't been done yet, or we can do things with a different spin, or we can, do you think, having been in it for a bit, do you think that that's a function of people's access to media? Like as we have social media and everybody has a platform, you have an infinite capacity to get more creativity into the same world and try to grab people's eyeballs.
Yeah, I do think it's a lot more accessible now, especially because whether it's AI or just software kind of like not dumbing down, but becoming so much more user-friendly, it's open to more people. So now you can just have an idea, not necessarily know how to create it, and you're closer to being able to create it. Where before it was like, who's this guy that's going to make this thing? I have this idea, but I have no idea how to deliver it.
Dude, I have an idea that I'm actually kind of excited about.
Okay.
Do you ever see Storybots?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if anybody has little kids, you see it's pretty high quality content too. But that style, like South Park design, Storybot design, where you have like just the cartoon rig. The state of Idaho has the Idaho 250 or America 250 coming up. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay. So next year is our 250th anniversary of the country, right? So 4th of July, big day coming up, right? And they have these Spud Buddies. Okay. So I think it's the state controller or state, fine, it doesn't matter. But the point is, there are a lot of people in the state government that are like, hey, we need to celebrate. So they make these Spud Buddies, and they're like these big plushy kind of stuffed animals that they're like, we should take these around. And I was like, dude, we need to make cartoon rigs with the Spud Buddies, and then have the Spud Buddies like in a Storybot style cartoon. So just use like Adobe Animate, like get the mouth rig going, and then get somebody to do the voice for the Spud Buddy, and then have the Spud Buddies interviewing like the governor and the lieutenant governor, like going all around, like standing on top of, like dams in Hell's Canyon, do all the, and just have that. And then all you need is shots of like the dam and then the people, and then you put it all together, and then you can use, like whatever system you want to make it.
Yeah. Well, let's get on it.
Baby.
There's a lot of red tape with the Idaho Potato Commission, though. I think when I owned a brewery, we made a beer that we brewed it with potatoes and called it something like Great Idaho Potato Beer or something, and got shut down pretty fast. So
Why?
Not to wet blanket it. I don't think you can say Idaho potato without permission.
But I don't think Spud Buddies is copyrighted.
Well, you'd be surprised. It's hard to do anything anymore without getting in trouble.
Yeah, I've run into that recently with just having these conversations. Like, you find out really quickly. Like, occasionally I'll put up a post on like, say, Instagram that's supposed to get shared to Facebook, and it'll be like, we can't share it to Facebook. Like, why, man? Yeah. Like, what are you? And they have these automatic checks and balances that really like hamper you. Do you guys run into that? Or
oh man, I don't know how many times we've
besides
been
the potato
a brainstorm meeting, and we're just like, oh my gosh, we finally get to this like gem of an idea, and we're all stoked. We're like, we've cracked the code. This is it. Hey, someone idea. Google that real quick, and it's like, shit. It's usually it starts with the quick Google search. I mean, we go to lawyers and stuff after that, but like. You can get shut down pretty quick with a Google search, just knowing that, oh, someone's already done that. That's become increasingly the hardest part, I think, about being creative is so much has already been done and people are so protected, they lock it up. So you'll come up with this idea, and because it hasn't been in your sort of atmosphere, you think it's brand new and it's super creative and this is the thing. And someone's done it. So it's become more exciting for me and my team because it's like now we got to go even further to find whatever it is that no one else has or has locked up. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, the best idea has already been done. And so we're always looking for that 1 out of 10.
How do you guys use Chat GBT, or like, do you guys use just AI, large language models, to come up or modify ideas? Because my idea would be to do the Spuddy Buddies and essentially get like ridiculous America jokes. Like, give me 10 ridiculous America jokes having to do with Idaho. Yeah. I don't know what those jokes are, but I'm sure the Chatty G does. And, you know, it'll come up with them and then I just run it through the cartoon.
Yeah, we actually have like an AI task force that kind of keeps up on sort of like what's the new thing out there, what are the legalities of using it. So we use it as more of like a efficiency to an idea or getting started. But especially my creative team, for now, I've made it a rule that we're not going to sell AI product or creativity to a client. Because I feel like that's a slippery slope where someone's coming in for our brain power, our brain power and sort of like what we do and our knowledge. And then we just go straight to something that they could do very easily themselves, but putting the same price tag on it. So this is, it's funny because I was like, I wonder what he's going to ask me about. And I was like, I hope it's not AI because I have like so many thoughts and feelings on AI.
What? You can share.
Okay,
like,
well, here we go.
Please share. Like, this is really curious. And if I may, I don't mean to interrupt, but to this point, there are so many things where people are doing this. One in particular, I get approached all the time, right? Like, every spam email you could is like, hey, I'm, Mark, and I'm an SEO expert and I could help. So I get these emails all the time. They're like, we could help level up your channel. I'm like, so one day I'm just like, hey, how about this? Take this video link and just do a run through. Tell me what I should do to like make this better. Yeah. And this person's like, oh, okay, great. And sends me back. This is like, change the title to this and then put in these keywords and all these things. And ultimately what it is this person just put the point of the episode or the description of the episode through an AI model and is like, make a SEO optimize this. And they're like, okay, change the name. And that's all they're doing. Right. And I come to find out because I was suspecting it. And then I talked to somebody in person that I knew who's like, yeah, man, that's all they do. Like, all they're doing is running this stuff through an AI model. And that's all they do. Right. And it's like, they're just collecting contracts and trying to get like that extra $50 a month, $100 a month, when in reality, it takes them 5 minutes to do all the work. Yeah. And that type of, it's almost like arbitrage. It's like, just boom. It's like, you don't have any actual tools. Yeah. Anyway, so what are your thoughts? Because again, curious about this.
So our agency acquired an agency in Spokane, I think 3 years ago. And along with that came their creative director. And I think their chief marketing officer, but they were getting ready to retire. So they're on their way out.
And this was out of Spokane?
Yeah.
Got it.
And I had a chance to sit down with both of them and have periodical conversations about kind of their story, because it's super interesting. I mean, they're older, so they go back to that. Like, when we did it, it was like this, and it was by hand and all this shit. And you're like, oh my God, I can't imagine.
They're doing magazine illustrations with the felt pens and everything. Yeah.
And typesetting and all this stuff. Yeah. And they couldn't wrap their head around how I can just sit in front of a computer and just do all that on screen. I have a problem hitting this mic.
Oh my God.
Last time I'm coming here.
Yeah.
And they're just blown away, but they do remember when like Adobe came out with like Photoshop. They were like, everyone that has a camera is out on the streets. Anyone that does design is done. And it was either the people that adopted it and kind of learned it that stayed in it and realized that this is an evolution of how things are done. And the people that failed to kind of pick up the skill or like transition, they did lose their job. And one of the guys, I won't name his name, but one of the principals there, he was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not jumping on a computer. I'm not learning the software. And he essentially just became someone that stood behind someone and said, move your wrist, click on this, move that, which for a while I think worked until everyone was like, dude, why'd you hire me? Like, or do it yourself. And he's like, I can't. I never learned the program. So I'm in this weird spot now where
he like pseudo learned the program. Like he knew enough to be like, you gotta, like he was just quarterback them.
Yeah, he didn't know the program, but he knew composition and he was talented. Yeah. He knew like that color works great with that color. Let's use this font or let's play with the kerning. So he was a smart dude. But I realized like now I'm in that position of AI is, Adobe Photoshop 30 years ago. And at first I was like, fuck no. Like when I sit down and tell a robot or a software like to make this for me and do something cool, I'll just kill myself. I mean, that sounds really dark, but like my whole identity is wrapped around being creative and like coming up with ideas and then actually like using my hands to make them.
Right.
So now I'm sitting at an agency where we're like, this is not going to stop. We're not going to be viable if we don't keep up with this AI thing.
Right.
So I had to kind of do this shift of like, okay, what am I willing to say like is lower stakes or isn't going to completely suck my soul out of my body as a creative person? Right. Because I can't and I won't fully transition into, I'll just type into a computer what I want, it'll spit it out and I'll sell it. Because that's no fun for me. Right. And it's like everything I worked for in my life to get to this point would be for nothing.
Right.
So now I'm left with like, well, what are we willing to adopt and what are we willing to just plant our feet in the sand and say, we will not do that.
Right.
So that's where we got to full circle is I'm okay at this point to say, hey, let's run some ideas through them and see what pops up. AI being them. I talk like a person now already. Right. Just to get the ball rolling and just kind of check ourselves like, oh, well, that's a good idea. And no one said this word and we like that word. So let's take some pieces. But then it stops and it's like, okay, let's, as humans, like check that against the audience that we're trying to serve, check that against the business goals of our client. And then also check it against like, is this good creative? Is it fulfilling? Did we do something better in the creative world or are we just making a bunch of slop?
Right.
So that's where I'm at. I still struggle with it. I wish it never happened, to be honest with you, because I'm like, there's so much fun and excitement of sitting in a room with someone and be like, let's make something out of nothing with our brains. Right. And now it's weird. But yeah, we use it a lot more on client side with some strategy stuff and some reporting and like things that just make that sort of like back end stuff more efficient, but still tippy toeing on the creative side.
First off, thank you for that. Like I deeply get what you're saying. And again, I don't work in marketing all day, but I do fancy myself a very creative individual. Yeah. And there are creative aspects to, for instance, just doing the show that I didn't understand when I started. One of them is questions, right? Like I found out, I didn't even know this, like this is how dumb I am. I found out like a couple years ago that a lot of podcasts, most successful podcasts, the host doesn't write the questions or doesn't have this. It's not like a free flowing conversation. I'll give you a perfect example. I was listening to a Rogan with a guy who is he's not a nuclear scientist, like one of like big time crazy professors that's like out there talking about stuff where you're like, oh my God, right? And Rogan's asking him these very pointed questions. And what I finally realized and found out later on, it's like they have people that understand the content, right, of the professor, right? They do the work to understand who this person is and the things they're researching and the things they're working on. And then they figure out also, okay, it's very much like a comic book. Like you ask a question and it goes off onto a long, kind of tangent, all these things. And then you have the next question teed up that you have high probability is will be a fertile, interesting exploration, right? But he doesn't necessarily come up with those, right? And so you can use AI to generate interesting conversations or things that would be fertile and valuable, right? So I was like, oh, I get it. Because they even talked about it in later episodes on Rogan. I listened to a lot of Rogan, but in later episodes, one of his guests is like, yeah, this is going to replace people like, for instance, podcast writers and all this stuff. I'm like, podcast writers? Like, what do you mean? So there's that aspect of this that I didn't think about. So I started in an attempt to better understand, like, okay, what am I missing then? Like maybe so I started using it occasionally. It's like, okay, what would be questions that asked? Now, mind you, 9 times out of 10, I didn't give a crap about the question it came up with.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'd be like, oh, that would be an interesting question. But for me, in this world, pinging AI against the human curiosity, it almost never comes up with something where I'm like, yeah, I would actually want to ask that question. It's just not interesting. And I think that's kind of like what you're dancing around, which is like it can come up with some slop, but there's still that human element where it's like, there's just something not right about it, or it's not engaging, or I don't actually care about that. Like this, it came up with something, but like it's not something I care about. And I think as long as we use that barometer in the creative world, I think there's always going to be a place for humans where it's like, you still have taste. It's almost like that intangible of like, there's something that doesn't taste right about this, whatever it is. And then, you modify it as you need.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I always think about this stuff as like that pendulum that swings. And I think that AI pendulum is swinging hard, and I hope that it gets to a point where people are like, yeah, this is great and everything, and it has its uses, but I want something made by a human. And that's just me crossing my fingers because that's my job and my identity as a creative person. And I do think it's going to go, this is like my conspiracy theory, like tinfoil hat, but like, I do think if it goes too far and people aren't creative anymore, and it's not something where like this actually came from a person who it maybe came from a struggle in their life or something just really deep and heady, people are going to be really bummed. And I think that people that don't realize how important art is to them because they don't think they're an artist or they don't think they're like a connoisseur or something, when that's gone, I really do think they'll be like, oh, something's missing here. And that's hard to explain, but I'm like, there's something so special about being creative as people and seeing people like expose themselves through all, like, whether it's song and dance or music or whatever. When that's gone and people aren't doing that, like, I think it's going to be pretty sad. And like, really, what's left that's cool?
Right.
That sounds really like dire and like
we're
all fucked. But like, I do think like that's a sad world to me where it's like everything out there was made from an algorithm or some computer like program.
But that's where you set the stage for like Picasso. Right? Like that's where you set the stage for real humanity.
Yeah, and that's where I hope the pendulum swings back. Is that sadness and like, oh, there's a lack. Like I hope that one day they're like, I'm tired of the computer stuff. I want to go find it's like people going back to knife makers and be like, I can go buy a knife from the store, but I love one that you made from scratch because that's special. And I'm hoping that's when that pendulum swings back.
Well, like this is where I've worried about this a lot too, right? Especially in the content world. Did you see? This is actually something that I double checked on ChatGPT, that there was YouTube changed a policy that it essentially is trying to cut down on AI generated and repurposed content, right? Yeah. So they're like, look, if you want to, because little background, right? So you and I make a clip. This is a clip. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whatever the clip is. It's you saying AI sucks. I don't know. Whatever. Right. You make a clip and that clip becomes very, very popular. People run that through AI. First off, they repurpose it straight up as like reaction videos. So like somebody just uses a green screen and they're pointing up. They're like, yeah, these guys get it. And it's like you saying AI sucks, right? Yeah. So because the original content was really high quality, I actually call this IP theft. So they essentially just repurpose that thing, right? Then you have somebody who takes the audio and like it's an attractive girl and she puts, like a wig on that looks like your hair and mustache. And then she does like AI sucks. And it's like, you see people doing this with comic bits, right? Yep. There's a gal, Meg Stallion, who is sponsored by Miller Lite and she does like a ton of Kevin Hart bits, does the Kevin Hart audio, and she just lip syncs to it and she puts herself in different outfits and stuff. So it's like, okay, so you have the original video where it's a react video, right? Then you have the audio capture, right? Where somebody acts it out. Mm-hmm. Then you have people using that audio and putting AI generated images over it. And you see this a lot with like motivational videos and, and you see the words, the captions on it. It's like AI sucks. And it's like a computer bank and I'm just making all this stuff up, but like this is the stuff that happens. So what YouTube had realized, they're like, okay, we have a lot of people that are able to take this original good quip, run it through AI generation, because now you can do a lot of these things with AI, making different videos or repurposing them. And we're not actually getting creativity, and people are getting monetized because they're bringing this piece to it. They're changing it a little bit instantaneously and just pumping out these clips that have a high probability of making the money because of the original creator making something that was relevant, right? Yeah. They're like, we're not getting anything real anymore. We're upregulating just copycats that aren't actually creating anything. And with the integration of AI video, they're upregulating things that, like, all of a sudden we could just flood 10,000 videos with the same audio or the video, or made into a cartoon, or made, we're having a conversation on the moon, like whatever it is. And it's all just junk. It's all just repurposed junk. So YouTube recently was like, hey man, we're going to down-regulate that monetization. Like, if you're not meaningfully bringing something original, then you're not going to get monetized in the same way.
Yeah, that's great. I do appreciate that, like, pump on the brakes. I think I've had a lot of conversation with people about, like, AI can't get hands right, so we're all fine. I'm like, dude, we just started. Like, I don't know how long it's been. Like, I'm 43 now, so, like, years become obsolete. Was it 3 years ago where all this AI stuff like popped off and everyone's like, look at the hands, you can always tell.
You can always, it's like 7 fingers and they're painful because like one finger's going sideways. You're like,
yeah. But this claim that it's never going to get good enough, I'm like, yes, it will. Of course it will. I'm surprised it's not there now. And honestly, like, I have a really good eye for it. I mean, we work with a lot of photographers and like scrutinize over images and stuff. So I can, if someone was like AI or real, like I can look around and find some telltale signs. But it is getting to the point, and I think AI is realizing that they can't make their photos look that good, so they're starting to look a little shittier like a human did it. And now I'm like, oh, I don't know. This is kind of weird. And just like any technology, like, there's good parts about it, and I'm sure people can use it in good ways, but like, not to sound like a Marvel movie, but like, there's also a lot of evil that's going to come with it. And you see that with like the deep fake videos, and there's become a point where like, maybe you and I see a video out there that's circulating and is like, is that you? And we're like, no, I didn't say it. You know what I mean? Like, that's possible now, which is super scary.
Literally, as you were just saying the finger thing, before you even said the scary thing and evil thing, I was thinking about Secretary of State Phil McGrain came in a lot of times, but one of his original interviews, he was talking about the anxiety that people have in the election world with that exact problem, which is like, how do you know if something's real or not now when you're dealing with politicians and in the political world? Because you could say, like, there are all of these, you can make people say anything you want. I've been thinking about this a lot with regard to my specific platform, because I do a bunch of, talking head interviews, right? Like, that's all I do all day long. And wondering, like, okay, is there going to be a place for this or not? And I got more optimistic as I explored the idea, because what I realized primarily is if we get to the point, like, you got to get to the point where you realize some of it's fake. Like, my mom. Let's just say parents in general. Parents in general have a very hard time discerning, like, whether a YouTube video is real or not. Right? And something like this is kind of the nature of flat earth stuff, right? Like, you make a video that sounds just right, and like, you got these images and it's all like, earth is not flat. Anyway, be that as may.
So you're not a flat earther?
Not every day. So only every other weekend. And it's fun. It's just for fun. I think it's fun. I think you can go down with like Kanye West and just flat earth the whole thing. Anyway, the point is, I got optimistic because I realized, like, okay, well, as long as people acknowledge anything can be faked, and they want reality, they will seek out established reality. So if there are platforms in existence that have never portrayed falsehoods, those will become more valuable. Right. Because, like, if you think about the ranch platform in general, it's like, okay, like, it's a dude talking to a bunch of people in Idaho. Okay, great. But if it's like the only one, it's like, okay, great, I can watch, I cannot watch. If you're flooded with 1,000 channels that all purport to be talking in Idaho, and you realize 999 of them are fake, then the one that's real becomes really important.
How do you know though? That's like,
how do you know that it's real?
Yeah, because there's so much stuff out there. Like, for instance, like,
well, I think longevity, right? Isn't it like this thing has been here for 10 years?
You would think so, but there's people that swear by, like, we're going to go way off the rails here.
Let's go.
Like Fox News or Breitbart or like CNN. And like, so funny story, like my wife's family, they probably won't listen to this, so I'm probably safe here. I'd go up there and we're in McCall and we're talking and we're barbecuing, and they'd say something about Democrats or liberals or
sure, whatever.
And and they're all just like talking and they're getting amped up because they're all excited and they're like, yeah, I feel the same way and like all this stuff. And I was just sitting there and trying to be polite and respectful and not like make ruin Thanksgiving. And I was just like, where do you hear this shit? And from that point on, I was like, I'm going to only listen to conservative radio and I'm going to watch Fox News for a while. And a couple things happened. One, I was like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. And then I could switch back over to, let's say, like NPR or like NBC News. And I'm like, that's fucking crazy too. And I'm like, how I've been watching this my whole life. And like, that's my narrative is all I get is like, I feel like NPR for a while was pretty trustable. Like they're not spinning anything. And I thought like anything like, left leaning, like that was kind of where I ended up. But then after listening to what the right leaning people were listening to, I was like, these are both dramatic spins. And the story is the same seed, but what they're talking about is spun so far out of control where I'm like, I don't even know where to go anymore. And like to the AI thing, because what would you do marketing and say, we're the trusted, that's probably the first thing in the meeting and be like, well, why don't you say you're Idaho's only trusted podcast and we never have AI and it's never fake. But then everyone's out there being like, I don't know, because you'd probably say something they didn't agree with. And by that, they'd be like, well, that's not real. Because I was hearing like, Fox News, Breitbart, and I was like, there's no way that's real. But then they're listening to NPR and NBC and they're like, there's no way that's real. So where do people go anymore?
Okay. I get what you're saying 100%. First, that's hilarious, by the way, because I've had similar experiences recently where I'm like,
yeah. Family did.
Dude, I was talking to a relative, an in-law recently, not naming names. And I mentioned that the Boise School District does not have paid maternity leave. Okay. Now, you can agree with it. You can disagree with it. None of my affair. But to be clear, there are women on the school board in the Boise School District, and Boise School District as an employer does not have paid maternity leave. And I think you get like 3 months. I'm not 100% on the benefits or the nuances, but you get to, preserve your job, but you're just not getting a paycheck for like 3 months or 6 months, whatever it might be. Okay. Whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant to me. Right. But this family member was like, it's how you keep women at home. And I was like, how do you, and it was
this an uncle? That sounds like an uncle thing to say.
No, it's a contemporary.
Okay.
The point is, I hear that I'm like, how do you mean? Right? Like the women on the school board likely don't want to keep women at home. Like these are elected officials that are like, they're, did you ever read Atlas Shrugged?
No.
Okay. A book, it's like the Capitalist Manifesto, right? Ayn Rand, a very cool book, very long, right? And, the focus of a lot of study around capitalism and economics and stuff. But at one point there's this, and it's fictitious, right? At one point there's this fictitious town, like it's essentially like Detroit that used to be like this Goliath. And then it essentially like turned socialist or communist and everything fell apart. And the protagonists meet a guy still living there, right? And he's like, man, in the heyday, things were great. And he goes on to say, like, when people used to have kids, we would celebrate them. We would like shower them with gifts and we would, like pat them on, but like all these, the community would come together and support like the person. And this is when it was like still capitalist and everybody was making money and everybody was happy. But then it became this socialist thing. And it's like, well, we need to provide as like an obligation for the people having kids. Right. And then he's like, wait, why is my paycheck getting docked? Because that person had a kid. And then he's like, then we hated it. It was like, I hated the kids. We were so mad. We wanted to know why they had like all this total turnaround when it's like this obligation. So it's like, I don't know why the Boise School District doesn't have paid maternity leave. I don't know. I've never talked to them. But I could understand if somebody said, look, we keep a very lean budget. We focus extensively on self-reliance. Like that's what this state is about. And as an employer, like it would cost us X more dollars if we did this or whatever it is. I have no idea why. Right. But just the default idea that it's like, well, that's how you keep women at home. I'm like, oh God, like, so it's like, it's so painful. But here's my thought on it. The Fox News, what you're going to get. The MSNBC, what you're going to get. And I think I told you before we started, this gal reached out recently and said something nice about a clip, and then went on to tell me in, like Instagram, she was like, I appreciate your show, even though I don't always appreciate your guests, because like you really do try to have both parties on. And I think the taste test from here on out for anybody actually trying to get information is going to be, are you always happy watching this?
Right.
Because if you're always happy watching this, it's probably going to be spun one way or another.
Yeah.
Like you got to hear stuff occasionally. You're like, I don't like that position. But then you're watching something that's not just catering to a position.
Yeah.
You're catering to the knowledge base of, in my case, Idaho.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because that's, we hover around that sentiment a lot in marketing. It's who's your audience, and they can't be everyone, but you have a very blended audience. So you're going to have people on here talking about stuff that half of your audience is going to be like, ooh, I do not like, it doesn't matter who it is. They're like, I do not like that guy talking.
Right.
Where the other side's like, that's why I like this podcast.
Right.
The next episode,
And the next episode.
Exactly. And that's I think that's great, especially for Idaho, just because
it's
of how
bad for
polarized
collecting.
it is.
It's bad for collecting followers. I'll tell you that much. People get so mad.
And I would imagine, and this is just a 1,000-foot view of just what I know, that sponsorships might be also tricky because people want to tie their brands to their horse. And if you have both horses, like it could be a good thing and a bad thing, because it's basically like, now I've opened my audience up to a broader, like he has this audience and he has this audience, but the product has to be right, or the service, because it's like, do they, you know what I mean?
Right. And I don't have sponsors. I don't run advertisements like that's, and figuring out a way to make this happen long term has been ungodly difficult.
Yeah.
But like, look, let's just start with the premise that 70 to 80% of the people are in the middle somewhere. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have, let's say 10 to 15% on either side are like convicted, diehard, blue or no one else, or red or no one else, whatever. Okay, fine. Like those people are fine. And those people want the 70 to 80% to jump on their horse. Yeah. But the 70, 80% in the middle are like, they're, single parents, they're normal, two parents that are just trying to get on through their life, and they're just trying to get information. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they know a lot of, I find a lot of people to be very discriminating customers, and some get taken very easily. But I think one of the problems is that people are not presenting in high quality in one location enough variety of information, right? So people tend towards one channel, or they tend towards one platform, or they tend towards whatever. And if you don't have, like, once that platform collects a follower, is the platform actually presenting other sides? Or are they just leaning in? It's like lean in a little more. I heard this thing from a news station recently that I was at a career day, and like the news station's like, yeah, we listen to our viewers, right? We listen to our watchers to like give them the news they want. And that killed me. Yeah. Hearing that, I was like, okay, then you're not a news station. You're just a function of who's watching you. Whatever they want to hear, if you give them that, that's not the news. The news should be theoretically like an abstract, right? It's like, this is what happened. And you're saying, we just feed people what they want to eat. It's like, that's not proper nutrition, man.
But that goes, I mean, that's perfect fertile ground for a sponsor. Like if you're the guy on a Fox, and I'm not just picking on Fox. Pick one big guy. They're going to skew their opinion and how they tell the news a certain way, because that sponsor has millions of dollars invested in that show. And don't tell me that doesn't influence how they say things.
1,000% it does.
Right.
Right.
So that's essentially the same thing you're talking about. It's like, oh man, like we just got $30 million as a sponsor. They picked Fox or whatever. We got to be careful how we say it, which is where stuff gets dirty and like untrustable. And like Fox News will say we're the, America's number one trusted, and then we're America's number, it's just like, it's such a game. And back to the AI, like most trusted, like I do feel like it's going to be a struggle for people when it gets so convoluted and there's so much fake stuff out there to say, you can trust me though. And they're like, everyone's saying you can trust them. That's the hard part. And in marketing, that's still the hard part of like, why go to A and not B if there really is no difference? And that's where we come in and we say, well, why are you different? And then that's also interesting, because people that have run their own business are in such a little tiny vacuum, and they're in an echo chamber. So what they think their audience is and what they think is cool, they need someone from an outside perspective, which is where we come in and say, hey, let's look at the landscape here. Right. There's some things that you're not looking at, or you're not observing, or you're not taking in the analytics to be like, you can actually differentiate. Sometimes it's the thing that they've never marketed that is the thing they need to start saying, because they're like, oh, that's not a big deal. Everyone does that. And you go, no, they don't. And that's what that audience needs to hear, is that you do this one thing different.
Right.
And sometimes it's broad, like customer service, which is anymore. Everyone's got great customer service. But you had, for instance, you had Callie Zamzo on a while back.
Yeah.
They're one of our clients, love them, but they were one of those companies that do all of these really small things, like amazingly great, but they think that everyone does that. And then we're like, no, they don't. How come you're not telling people that you do this? Like, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah. Like they make their own feed. They have they do all kinds of stuff with fertilizer. The soil science too. Excuse me. I had Jim on as well, Jim Zamzo, and he was talking a lot of soil science, and I didn't, like, I'm slow to the take, man, but like I didn't understand all the things he was saying. And I've started now really understanding. So I moved recently, and the property I moved to it's like a little hobby farm, and the majority of it is just dead earth, right? Like nothing but goat heads and dash streams. Like it's just, it's rock solid. There's like clay and sand, and it's dry. And I was like, okay, well, I'd like to make a lawn, right? So this whole summer has been this journey of Matt trying to make a lawn, right?
Yeah.
And, like I rototill and, start watering, and that's like, dude, the goat heads are just off. You gave them a little juice, and they're like, oh yeah, baby. And like a goat head seed can last 20 years or something, and then it's just like one drop of water, and then you're just like off and running. Anyway, but it's this whole process of realizing like, oh, this earth was actually dead. Like there were no microorganisms. There was no, carbon from, like duck poop, or like there was none of that stuff that makes living earth that then the plants interact with.
Yeah.
And it's been this weird thing, because like I was successful in growing, but there are these dead spots where all of a sudden I can't do anything to get grass to grow in this dead spot. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So now I realize, like, I have a spot that's probably like the size of this rug that I can't, it's in the center of the lawn. I cannot for the life of me I'm literally going to remove a foot of earth from this dead spot, like wheelbarrow it out, dump it somewhere, and then fill it with like finished compost from Zamzo's. Yeah. And that will get it going, because the compost is alive, and it's like, no, we're going, like we're ready to rock. Yeah. And it's things like that I didn't understand, but like they make their own soils. They have seeds that's like Treasure Valley Special, which I put all over my lawn. It's fantastic because it's like, it's good in shade. It's good. And they have different mixes. So you effectively, like if you have an area that's like periodically high traffic and then periodically no traffic, they mix the seeds. So like, it'll be good. And it was like, if you're getting high traffic and the low traffic stuff dies, the full, I don't know, like Callie explained it to me. It was wild. Yeah. But they do a lot of cool things. Yeah. So bottom line is, from a marketing customer standpoint, it's helping people understand things that differentiate themselves that they may have not, because a lot of times people are just in the weeds and they're like, I'm buried so deep in this. Do you ever find, this is one thing I found really interesting when I started doing SAT videos in like 2019, 2020, and I had an idea of what I thought the market should like, right? And in reality, it was like, they should like this. This is good. Yeah. And I kept fighting this reality of what I thought as a SAT tutor and like a content maker, people should like, and what they actually liked. And those were two completely different things. And I have to imagine with you guys, you end up interacting with people who are like, no, I want the commercials to look like this, or I want the marketing to look like this, because this is what people should pay attention to. And you're like, yeah, but that's not what they care about.
Yeah, it does happen. We interact with a lot of like I'd say medium-sized to mid-cap. So by that time, they've kind of gone through that phase of like just shooting in the dark and like, nothing happened. Why not? Like, I love it. And it's kind of like, to break it down, when we started this podcast, you were like, it gets really intricate, and marketing's like, can be like this massive mountain to climb sort of thing. It really, if you just like calm down and realize like, would you buy it? Would you be interested if you were the market? And like, how do people behave and talk? If someone like, well, like some people think Dave Matthews is really cool. Right?
The band?
The band.
Okay.
Right? Now let that sink in for a second.
Weird music videos, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Back in the day.
And they're very talented, and he has a huge fan base. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, cool is different to everybody. audience is different, or how they speak to people is different than everybody. If someone said to me, this happens all the time, is like, make it super cool, make it so people can't stop watching it or they have to come in. And we're like, okay, well, let's dig into that. And like, no, just make it cool.
Just make it cool.
If I asked that person, I said, what is cool to you? And they said Dave Matthews. I'd be like, oh, okay. Good thing you said that, because NoFX is really cool to me. Like punk rock is really cool to me. I would have made something very punk rock. You wanted something with Dave Matthews, but none of that really matters because we have to figure out what the audience is. And that's where insights come in. So your question being like, do we ever have ideas that we're just like, oh, let's cross our fingers, hope it works? If you do it right, and if you're at the right agency, there's so much work ahead of the idea of like, who's that audience? What are the behaviors?
Sure.
How far are you trying to reach?
Right.
And then what do you want from it? The ROI, right? And once you figure that out, there's very little to be like, cross your fingers. It's going to be like, we know these people, we know your audience, we know what they want to hear, and we are giving them something that will make them react within their behavior. Changing people's behavior is insane. Right. And that's what a lot of, I think, people come in and say, well, can we do some videos real quick or make something viral? And it's like,
can we make some?
Can you quickly get someone to stop smoking cigarettes? Yeah. No. If they're already not coming to you, this needs to be well thought out and planned to get someone to change their behavior to go to Zamzows. Right. For instance, they're already going to Lowe's. They got everything they need there, except for they don't know that Zamzows has a better product and it's right around the corner. So things like that of like, we have to meet them where they're at. They're at Lowe's. They're this age. They have this much income. They're already spending money on garden stuff. How do we talk to them so we're not condescending or being like, hey, dumbass, you're at the wrong store.
Yeah, right.
But saying like, hey, you actually get a better experience and a better product. And it's not that much more inconvenience or inconvenient at all.
Right.
So that's just for example. Zamzows owes me some money for all the plugs, but they're very relevant right now in my sphere.
And it's hard too, because it's like, what does that person want? Yeah. Like, who is that person? Let's say we have a 35-year-old mom of two who's like just built some garden beds. Mm-hmm. Okay. And she lives near Lowe's, and she had bought hydrangeas for her front yard from Lowe's a couple times because they're in 5-gallon cans and they're cheap, right? And they have like a year warranty on them or something. Or she bought them from Costco, right? But she has to branch out because like Costco doesn't have the plants she wants for, her garden beds, right? Yeah. What do you have, like, who is that person? What's their motivation, right? Like, do they know exactly what they want? They want the cheapest deal. Do they want to talk to somebody about these things? Like, do they have, like, it's that connection, like getting a garden expert at Lowe's or Home Depot, it's impossible because there are no garden experts. They just have the plants. Yeah. And then Lowe's, you have a less personal thing. And so then it's like, okay, does this person want a relationship? It's like, we have to market the relationship you get at Zamzows. They're like, we sell plants. I'm like, yeah, but you also sell experience in purchasing the plant. Yeah. Like, it's an experience going in there. Is it, like whatever it might be. And it's I find marketing so interesting because I ask myself these questions about like this show. It's like, okay, how do I know what to make? Like, how do I know what to talk about? And it's like, who's even listening? Like, I'm always blown away when somebody's like, oh, I saw something from you. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I'm like, I don't know why. I don't understand how it's working. So my default is, look, if it's interesting to you, then do it. Yeah. And like, that's it. Whoever watches it, okay, great. But it has to be interesting to you first and foremost. Yeah. But it's understanding people and what motivates them or how they spend time. Like the attention currency, right? The attention economy is one of those things that's so amazing because it's like, what do you have to do to get people to voluntarily give you their time? Because that is worth like gold these days.
That's what everyone's fighting for.
Right. Yeah. How do you do it? Like, what do you have to give like value, or is it whatever people like, because you have the different ways of gaining people on social media. Like, if you want people to follow you, give them education. If you want people to like you, give them something entertaining. If you want people to pop up, and there's like that whole breakdown of like different things you can do. But it's obviously like a mix, right? Because you just want people to behave in the way you want.
Yeah, and we don't have like a templated like, come to us, you need sales, like we have this program. It's based on so much different stuff. But
sure.
But to your point, it's like, if Susan going to Lowe's, which no dirt on any of that. I'm sure I have friends that work there and stuff like that. But we're not going to serve her ads on TikTok because this hypothetical person is 70 years old. Chances are she doesn't have TikTok, right? So we have to figure out like, where are these people absorbing this sort of information? And that gets tricky too because it's always changing. And like, it used to be like, for instance, I'm done plugging Zamzows. They're great, but this seems way too much about Zamzows. They're amazing, by the way. But I just feel like I just came on here to do a commercial. It's meeting people where they're at.
Sure.
And we don't do blanket, like shotgun, like let's just shoot down a path and find out. We have these marketing plans that are very particular of where they're at, when they hit. Timing's a big thing.
Sure.
I mean, look at Super Bowl ads. Like people pull out all the stops because there's what you're saying. There's all that attention, and we got to pay for it. That's why it's so expensive.
That show, Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect example of this. He was like running the ad for abuse in like elder homes or overcharging in elderly homes. And he's like, we got to run it on Sunday at 11:30, like right after Matlock's on. Right. And it's just like, it blows up. It's like timing, channel, the right person, the whole thing. Yeah. So that's essentially, like in a nutshell, you guys have to break down all of those different motivations, the profiles, who the person is, and then go for like, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And that can be a hard part where it's really agency and client trusting each other, is when we come up with something that they're like, I didn't realize that. And we're like, well, here's the tactics based on the insights. And insights are like hard. This is real, where it's easy to get speculation and stuff like that or guessing, that gets really dangerous. So if you're ever asking someone for marketing and they just quickly go, oh, you know what those people need is this, and they haven't researched and they haven't figured it out, that's assuming something, and that's super dangerous. So the insights, once you collect the insights and the goal, then it becomes more of this, okay, here's the plan. But sometimes, like more often than not, the client is like, I didn't know that was our audience, or I didn't know the way we were speaking was over the head or underneath or around. And so we have to reframe that. And sometimes they've been doing it the same way for so long, they get really stressed out because they're like, oh, we've never done that before. But it doesn't take long for them to see like, oh, shoot, it's working. Like the people that I was trying to get to for 20 years are finally listening. And sometimes those audiences shift too. I know that company that starts with a Z, here I am again, they've been running radio ads here for 25 years, and they're great. There's a guy named Art there that's been doing it. He's a wonderful dude. But if you grew up here like I did, like that's an institution, Zamzows, because every day you're hearing nobody knows like like every kid knows it. My daughters sing it in the car and stuff like that.
That's so funny. I've never heard that. I don't even know what the jingle is.
Okay. Case in point. So they're watching the valley grow fast over the last 25 years. And they're realizing that there's more population, but their sales are not following that population. They're not losing ground, but they're not following it. And it's wherever they're from, Texas, California, wherever. Sure. They don't know the jingle. They don't know this is the place, the trusted place to go. This is where everyone, all their grandparents and everything, they don't know. So that's where we walk in and say, okay, there's a new audience here and there's a new landscape. What's the average ages of people moving here? What's the average income? Where are they living? Are they close to one of your Treasure Valley stores? Like, how much lawn do they have? Like, all the way down to like these big home developers, like when they lay sod, is it over the dead spot? Should we be marketing towards these people? Are like, hey, that lawn looks great because they laid sod a week ago, but it's going to die. Like we factor in all of that stuff of like, where is your customer at? And physically and then mentally, because a lot of research did tell us that a lot of these people from California are big cities. The big box store is your only place to go. There's no mom and pop. Like we really cares left. Zamzows is our we really care. That one's left. So we got to let people know. And that's like the new education of all of these people that are new to the valley.
How about this? Do some marketing around it being okay to like your lawn.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like if you're coming from the state that shall not be named, it like there was a community reinforcement, guilt and criticism for somebody who had a nice lawn. Mm-hmm. And like you'd get neighbors. You had this in the southern part of the state. Yeah. You had enforcement, like where neighbors were ratting on other neighbors. Like I remember seeing a documentary where they had like the water police and they were going out and they're like, oh, see that water droplet? It's 1 o'clock. You definitely watered that recently. Like they were writing tickets and stuff and people would be informing. And you felt bad about it. Yeah. Right. And moving here, I was like, wait, we just get to like water? And they're like, yeah, man, water away. By the way, like you can water a lot. Make sure this is how I found Zamzows. They're like, listen, people from that state always think it's just more water because they've never had a lawn that they could water too much because they were always sparingly watering. Yeah. You can water a lot here, but you got to get these other things. And that's when I started understanding, I got introduced to the idea of like soil science. I didn't know that there was a thing called a lawn care program where like people would come out. Because again, the sentiment, it's not okay to like your lawn. Yeah. Right? Like you could do a whole campaign on like, It's okay to like your lawn. It's okay to love your lawn.
So we took it a step further, which is pretty funny. So the first TV spot we ran was nice grass. And this is going way back to like different audiences and how polarized Idaho is, or the Treasure Valley anyways. So I had this idea of like, let's not sexualize grass, but let's make grass sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it opens, and I storyboard it and everything, and I'll send you the storyboard. It's kind of funny, but it's this couple and they're getting into bed, and wife grabs a book and she opens it. Dad grabs a magazine, opens it, and they're just getting, they're winding down, and he starts raising his eyebrow, and he turns the magazine sideways.
The fold out.
Yeah. And he's like, nice grass. And then she's like, and he slams it, and then it's nobody knows. Like,
yeah.
And then we showed the magazine. It's a grass ad. It's this fold out grass ad, and it's, some people, I would say a small minority, thankfully, but lost their minds. They were just like, Grandma Z would be rolling in her grave, and how inappropriate, and how could you? And we were watching this as a family, and I had to mute it because you guys and
nice grass.
Oh,
please, man.
But marketing wise and like knowing our audience well enough, we knew there's enough people in the valley that'd be like, ooh, I didn't know what a lawn program was either. But that gets you being like, that's kind of funny. And that sticks in your head, and then, transfers into a sale, and sales went up. We made some people really mad, but we made our core audience really happy and like excited and be like, oh yeah, Zamzows. Like there's a local product that's really good. And we also interviewed a lot of people and realized that like people are very proud of their lawn, and it is a big thing, and why not be proud of it? And funny story too, we're sitting with Callie and Joss, brother, sister, co-CEOs of Zamzows, and he was telling us about water retention in lawns.
Yeah.
And how important it is for like our water table and keeping it here. So there's this conversation about, you can't water your lawn, we're wasting water, like zero-scape, all that stuff. That water goes away unless we kind of hold it in our atmosphere. And the way he explained it, I was like, man, like if we could get like 1,000 people in a room to have you say it and be that passionate, and that like just owning the fact that like having a nice, healthy lawn is the key part, is actually really good for our water table and like keeping water in Idaho. Right. So it's so interesting. Like they have so much like knowledge and passion about it that they just have inside, because they kind of think that everyone knows that. Who doesn't know that? And we're like, nobody. Like, nobody knows but Zamzows. Yeah.
The last conversation I had with Callie when she came on, because the first one I just had her on just talk about Zamzows broad scale. And then I had her on going into the spring, because I was like, listen, man, I have been in like a high octane battle with my lawn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a great conversation, but it's like she has so much rattling around up there about soil and health and all of the benefits, all of these things. And again, coming from my former state, if you want a nice lawn, like you had guilt. Like I have family members who have fake sod full blast, and they literally have a hurt shoulder from patting themselves on the back about it. Like,
right.
And that's the jam. And it's like, great, like that's fine. But again, that's not the conflict with just understanding the environment and like our natural resources is just so wild. Yeah. And how it's like people would just take like this example. It's like, having a lawn is actually good for a lot of reasons, and having a fake lawn is actually bad for a lot of reasons. Yeah. Not the least of which is the petroleum byproducts and problems that you have to get, but like the soil's dead underneath it. Yep. Like that's not good for a lot of things. You're not retaining, whatever, we could go into it. Anyway, it's just, there are things like that, but it's again, to your point, it's understanding where people are coming from, and then in the changing demographic, and then hitting that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, these are wild times.
They are.
Yeah. It's I think it is really. I had this episode with somebody. I think it was Monica Church actually during the legislative session. She's representative church now she's just Monica because they're out of session. Yeah. Anyway, so I was chatting with her, and she's so interesting to me because she is this, diehard, she's kind of like Idaho royalty, right? And, related to Frank Church and Cecil Andrus. And she knows Idaho in a way that very few people I've ever met know Idaho. Mm-hmm. And hanging out with her, it's like, okay, you get that. But I know my former state, like, better than you could ever know. And you have to come together with those people because we're all stuck with each other now. Like, this is the thing that I find so funny, right? And you work on like, legacy, Treasure Valley and Boise culture. It's like, I want to know that stuff because I want to understand the world you grew up in. Like, I want to understand Boise in the 80s. Like, I want to understand what was going on here. That's great. Yeah. But if there's no curiosity that's reciprocated, then we're always going to be missing each other and we're never going to really integrate, right? Yeah. Like, and look, it's on me moving here. Be like, look, man, start asking questions. Like, you got to understand this place. You moved here. Like, you have an obligation to understand it, or at least try to understand it. But as Americans, like, we kind of have an obligation to understand each other, or at least attempt, right? And that means people here that have been here for a long time. Like, why is it that so many of them seem crazy when they move here? It's like, well, I can tell you some stories, right? It's like, I guess what I'm saying is, it's like, we just need to understand each other better in marketing and then just relating to each other. Yeah. It's like, hey man, like this is what has been going on in America, and we find ourselves living next to each other now. And like, this is what that means. And this is why these people generally think this way. Like, why would I feel guilt about a lawn? That may be the most odd thing to somebody who's lived here forever, but I can tell you for sure, like, I have had anxiety over watering my lawn. Yeah. And it's like so silly.
Well, see, and I just picked up that's a nugget I get to take home with me is like, hey, I just talked to someone from the C word state. Yeah. I was born there, by the way. I have a company called Boise OG, but I have a daughter that was born here, so it counts.
There you go. Got a relative.
But hearing that from you of like, well, why wouldn't they have a nice lawn? It's like, well, talk to my friend Matt. He feels really guilty about it. Like, that thing didn't come, like, we didn't Google, like, why do people not like their lawn? Like, that wouldn't have come up, Matt says. Right. But it's always stuff like that, picking up just like commentary and just like branching out and hearing everyone's story. That's just such a cool thing about marketing in general, is I've worked with so many industries, whether it's in Idaho or Washington or Oregon, like statewide, where you go and it's kind of like dirty jobs where you go and you see what they do and you learn about it and you're like, holy shit. I didn't know that. Like, I would have never known that unless like we were almost forced together because your company paid me to come here and learn about what you do so we can find some sort of solution here. It's amazing. Like I told you, like from apple orchards to House of Design out in Meridian or Nampa, the robotics company, like, and everything in between. Like, I know a ton about cows and apples and robots, and like, it's awesome. Like, that's kind of the bonus of my job is
you get to learn about these different industries. Yeah.
And you always hear something that you're like, I never considered that ever.
Yeah.
And it's so, and that's why I think I'm so like, I do listen to conservative radio a lot and I do watch a lot of Fox News. It's not because I believe what they're saying. It's because I'm like, I'm going to run into someone that's only fed this information and I just want to know what they're hearing. And then I want to know what like the left side is hearing. And then I want to form my own. So I have something to say and I'm not just like, dude, that's total bullshit. I want to be like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. And like, I heard this and like, can we talk about it a little bit? Like Brad Little's been on this program before. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't have to like him to understand how he got there and why he was elected. Yeah. I understand. I get it because I've talked to enough people that really like Brad Little where I'm like, I get it. You've given me enough information. I get it. I don't agree, but I understand. And I think that's the biggest part about marketing too, is I don't have to be your audience to understand them. And that's been really eye-opening to me, is I don't need to be in your industry to be like, I get why you're having this issue. I understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I know you're a big Ammon Bundy fan, so it's a
Did you see that sticker?
No, what sticker?
So Boise OG, we did it says Lazy Boy Furniture Company, and I drew a picture of him in that chair that he refused to get out of. Do you remember when he got rolled out of the Capitol building?
No,
You've never heard about this?
No. Okay, so that was the governor's race was 22, right?
Sure.
Okay. Because the another one's coming up in 26. Yeah. I had just moved here, and I remember seeing like a 30-second ad for Ammon Bundy, like getting out of his truck. He's like, I'm going to eliminate property tax, all these. I was like, how the hell is he going to do that? Whatever. But like, that's the only thing I knew about him. Then, of course, everything else kind of started rolling.
Yeah, he, I don't know all the details, but I'm sure you can look it up and see video clips. But he essentially refused to leave, and so he sat in his chair, and the police officers had to roll him out of the building, and like 2 like off premise, like while he's in this chair. So there's a photo of
in
him
the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Was he an elected official? What was he doing in the chair?
I think he was
there for commentary or something.
Yeah.
And he just sat and they rolled him out.
YouTube likes or something. So there's a photo of him, his legs are crossed and he's just like holding on to this chair and there's cops around him. And so there's this Lazy Boy Furniture Co. Yeah. I mean, Idaho's not like, when we met this morning, I talked about, being a political cartoonist, and I've done a bunch of them, and I've kind of slowed down just because I'm as snarky and as smartassy as I am. Like sometimes I don't have the bandwidth to like engage that often with just randos. So I pick and choose carefully anymore. But even as a kid, I was just like, man, how fun would it be to just like illustrate jokes about real things that are happening? And I still think it's fascinating. Like huge fan of political cartoonists. But
do you do like the big head ones? Like those ones?
Like
I never understood those when I was a kid.
No.
Like you were on a different wavelength, because I was like, I don't understand why this is funny. Like nobody explained it to me.
No,
it's impossible to know how. I find it very difficult to your point, to even navigate my own. I'll go a step further than you. You're like, hey, look, I like these things, right? I find it difficult now to even know conclusively what I like, because I know so much about both sides. Check this out. I think I may have told you this the other day after training. I found out the other day, there are 50 critical minerals in the United States, right? 50 critical minerals. And a critical mineral is defined by, this is amazing, critical mineral defined by, we either absolutely need it for economic or defensive capabilities in the United States. Absolutely need it, and it cannot be replaced. All right. So like if this is a critical mineral, if I lose this, it's gone. It's over. I can't do that thing. I can't harden bullet casings. I can't make, shields for satellites, for solar radiation. I can't do these things. Okay. So that's the first thing. I can't replace it. I absolutely need it. And we don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if those two things apply, it is designated a critical mineral. 50 of them. Of those 50, China owns 30. Okay. So then the question becomes, why can't we supply ourselves with those 30? All right. So there's a stibnite mine in Idaho. It has antimony. We need antimony for bullets. Okay. And a bunch of other things, like your iPhone glass has antimony in it to harden the glass. Okay, great. We have antimony here. But what about the environment? What about the original people of the antimony mine? Currently at the antimony mine, at the stibnite mine, you have 2,000 pounds of arsenic leaching into the water every single year because of the old mine. Now, new miners are willing to come in and clean that all up and stop that, but we have to allow them to mine. So there's this big wrangle. EPA comes in, environmental groups come in, boom, boom, boom. Now, do we stop using antimony? No. Where do we get antimony from? The child labor in like the Congo or the, China, wherever, because China doesn't just produce these things. They also just refine them. So they have contracts across the world to get antimony. So it's like, okay, wait a minute. We don't mine antimony here because it's bad for the environment, but we don't actually care about the environment. We just care about our particular environment. We don't actually care about child labor. We just care about our kids. We're totally cool to get antimony from the child labor that's destroying the planet. But like, we're cool with that from a humanitarian standpoint because it's not our kids and it's not our backyard. Right. Okay, right. So what do I actually like? What are my preferences, right? Do I advocate for stopping using antimony completely? Well, that's probably not going to work, right? Like I have a MacBook, we can't not use it, okay? Do we advocate for bringing mineral operations here? Right? If we're really environmentalists and we're really humanitarians and we don't want child labor and we don't want to destroy the earth, shouldn't we be going out to every single mining company in the world and being like, hey, what would it take? Hang with me. What would it take for you to come mine here? Now, I got a lot of rules, but how could we make it financially viable for you to mine here to get the thing we absolutely need and abide by every single one of these rules? Is there a capitalistic system where you can make a profit and I can buy the product used by your product and we can do this together? Yeah. That to me seems like the right thing to do. Yeah. But like, is it? I don't even know what the right thing to do is anymore. Or do we just, no, let's just keep using the 7-year-old in the Congo that's like destroying Congo.
Yeah.
The Congo, not Congo. Right? Like, what are your preferences at this point? How do we even know what the right thing to do is? Like, I'm so nervous to take a position on anything because, like, I know tomorrow I'm going to get a call from somebody who in good faith is like, hey, man, I heard that episode. I just want you to know, like, you didn't think about these things. I'm like, damn it. I thought I had a good position and now it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky. I grew up with some friends, went to high school with them. And back then, I don't know if it's the same still or social media or just the abundance of media, but I never asked a friend like, hey, like, what way you leaning?
What way you leaning?
When you're gonna vote, which side you? Because it didn't like, it was just like, I like you because you're a good person, and we have like a chemistry, and like our lives are better because we know each other.
Yeah, right.
And now I have friends that are still from high school where you saw where they went, and it's this weird mind meld of like, oh, could I still be friends with this person? Like, we're not aligned anymore. And like the hope I have is like, I'm like, yeah, I can still be friends with them. We have different opinions about how things should be done, but like, there's a reason I like this person. They're a good person. And there's so much diversity in how someone was raised or their environment, where that's where I come to that understanding of like, if I can know your context, I get it. Like, if I can understand where you came from and why you're going that way, and we can have that conversation without being like, I have no words for you. You seem like you're leaning this way. Like, I don't even want to talk to you. Then I'm like, oh, fuck off.
Right.
Like, I'm interested. I want to know. I want to understand. And most of the time, if you have a good enough, long enough conversation where you're both being vulnerable, you'll be like, oh, from your point of view, I understand.
Right. And you don't have to agree.
Yeah.
Right. Like I actually put out a clip this morning that I thought was really, again, it's interesting. Had a gal from Office of valuation or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's an office there's like essentially a Doge in Idaho, and it has been here for a long time. And they evaluate. So legislators will usually be like, hey, can you get me a report on the chair? Like, we bought a lot of chairs here. Can you get me a report on like how long the chairs last, how much money we've spent? And they're like, yeah, sure. They go figure out, performance evaluation. There it is. And this gal came in, Mackenzie Moss, really enjoyed the conversation with her. And we talked a lot about the performance evaluation report for child welfare in the state of Idaho and problems that they identified and have they been fixed or not, all of these different things. And she said at one point, she was like, listen, no one is ever happy with child welfare. Mm-hmm. And there is no way to ever always be happy with child welfare. She was like, there's no way to get 100%, even if you look at foster care placement, there's no way to get 100% satisfaction 100% of the time with foster care placement. The majority, and we strive for everybody to enjoy and have a good relationship with the people that are caring for them. But there's no way to always have the right hit for the right family and and you're dealing with people in their absolute worst times of their lives, like all these things. Do we stop striving?
Yeah.
Right? Do we say like, hey, we've had a bad case where somebody was getting abused by a parent. We all agree on that. And then we took them into foster care and it wasn't the best experience in foster care. Okay, let's eliminate foster care.
Right.
Like, no, you try to do a better job with foster. We don't stop trying to help children that are being abused or neglected or whatever they might be. Right? Like we don't throw away the entire thing. And I think it's like that with friends. Like I have friends across the entire spectrum. And you're like, we should get to the point where we're like, okay, look, I can see that you feel that way and awesome. Yeah. Is it okay if I don't share that sentiment? Okay. Well, if it's not okay, then we're not friends anymore. Yeah. But if it's okay that I don't share your sentiment and we're still friends, then like, okay, great. Yeah. That's how we move on. Yeah. But I don't think there's any money in that.
I don't think there is. Isn't that always the thing too? Like, well, that would work if, never mind. No one's making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like if the news came on, they're like, well, it's complex, right? There are two sides to this. And, these people think this and yeah, I can see that. And these people think that. And yeah, I can see that too. So you figure out audience. Yeah. Like the news doesn't say that. No, they're like, these people are terrible people. Let me tell you all about it. Like the number of times I've been on KTVB in the last 6 months, they just ran another story. Are you familiar with the West Ada snafu?
Yeah, I am very aware. I have a child in the district.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. You and me, right? So the whole thing with the everyone's welcome here thing flows out, and it wouldn't die, right? Like, and they kept running things about it, and they were mad at me because West Ada came on my show. I had nothing to. I'm not part of their media plan. Like I don't, or at least I wasn't part of the planning. It's like they asked to come on, and we're like, yeah, you can come on. Like I don't care. Like we didn't talk about questions beforehand. We didn't do anything. They kept running stories. They just ran another one. It was like 4 days ago. I got a text message from somebody like, you were just on KTVB. I'm like, again? Yeah. Oh my God, can it stop? And it's like, what's the story? You know what they could have talked about that week? Holy God. That week, I had Congressman Mike Simpson on talking about nuclear energy, INL, and water in the state of Idaho. I had Richard McPherson on, who's doing the Idaho nuclear stuff. I had like the number of people I had on and the amazing things happening in Idaho. I can barely keep up with it.
Yeah.
And they're running the same story from months ago. I was like, is this news?
Right.
Or is this just, look, we got some hits on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, my guy. Listen, we've gone on a journey today.
Yeah, we have.
It's fantastic. How can people find you if they're interested in marketing?
116andwest.com.
116andwest.com.
Mm-hmm.
God bless it. And your Boise OG stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
BoiseOG.com or
yes,
.org?
.com.
.com. I looked at that stuff. It's good stuff. I know we talked about a lot of different things. I do want to talk about more of the culture of Idaho, because again, it's something that I'm very interested in, but we've gone pretty far today. So why don't we do this? Let's call it. Yeah. Please come back.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Boise OG stuff, and we'll go from there.
Cool.
God bless,
right
man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.